So the idea of being really intentional about how we put groups together to get things done. Some of the most effective leaders, the folks who have really thrived in over the last couple of years using, distributed workforces, what I've found is they've gotten very clever and strategic about how they organize their resources, blending people with initiatives to have the dual outcomes of getting the work done, but also getting specific learning done in each case.
That's called strategic teaming. Is that right? Is that what you...
That's what I just called it.
That's what you do. Well, that's going to go into the snippet for social media. How to use strategic teaming to kind of enhance your team's skills.
I like it.
Right. But I like strategic teaming. Sounds really interesting. And I like how you can create an environment like on a specific initiative by pulling together people who share similar requirements for growth or whatever, and who share similar kind of values to do something.
Or maybe different ones. That might be part of your intentionality. I've got to learn one thing, you've got to learn another, and together we're going to be able to help each other get there. And doing that, these dimensions, I wish they all stayed in their lanes and were neat and tidy and had clear borders, but that really gets into connection. One of the other dimensions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's through those kinds of connections that the learning is going to happen. And how managers and leaders orchestrate those connections. It's almost like, I don't know, like a conductor or a chef, conductor bringing the instruments together to create the symphony, the chef bringing all the ingredients together to come out with that wonderful masterpiece on the other end.
Yeah, so let's jump to connection. And I am just really conscious of time. This is going to be way over an hour, so we might not be able to get through everything just for the listeners, but I'm going to try to focus on the ones which you've prioritized, in the order of the survey. But let's go to connection, because even at the beginning I was explaining it's so nice just to speak with you about, something in the morning, it's a way to connect, right? And so it seems that connection was almost the main thing, not the main thing, but it was a top thing before the events of 2020, right? But that was the thing which you would get at an office, right? Is the connection with everyone. Sometimes it was too much connection, sometimes, right? And it's hard to be focused. But now we've gone almost the other way, where now connection is different. And so can you talk about connection, and then, what are some interesting ways that companies are fostering it?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, Alex, as you talk about it, because I get the sense that you're probably an extrovert and really enjoyed the stimulation of being in an office.
I like both. I really like to be productive, but then I also like to be in an office, and I don't want either to be 100%, right? So I don't want to be 100% in office, and I don't know if I want to be 100% at home either, right? And so it's that balance. It's a nice,
and I'm the same way. It's funny that you should say that, because I'm a absolute mix of the two. But I'm just thinking about some of my friends who are more introverted. They have not missed the connections of being in the office. The intentionality of the remote connections has really met a lot of their needs. So it's interesting, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, doesn't it? About managers, leaders, they need to really understand their people. And it's not one size fits all, as tidy as that would be. I've started to write and speak about bespoke development. It's something that's customized and tailored just for the individual. And one size doesn't fit all, but one size doesn't even fit the same person over the course of their whole career, because this is going to shift and we're going to have different priorities. So I was just looking when we were talking, what I was looking down at was the book, because we've got the way I organized the book was each of the chapters, most of the chapters relate to one of these dimensions, and basically unpacks it with a little bit of background. But for the most part, it's strategic interventions. It's really actions and tactics and templates and conversation frameworks and that kind of thing that help managers to to work with an employee and help them grow through that particular dimension. So it's almost more like a workbook or a playbook, you just a reference guide. When
Exactly.
you learn that someone has an interest, for instance, in connection, you just go to that chapter and you've got some tools and techniques. But one of the tools is a targeted connection plan worksheet. And what this worksheet does is it introduces the manager and the employee, for that matter, to all of the different ways, the vehicles that we've got in the workplace that allow for connection. Probably not all, but the ones that came to my mind. So things like just making introductions, something as simple as that. Collaborative efforts, sort of what we were talking about, shadowing, bringing folks along on internal meetings, sending them along on external opportunities, group membership, securing a mentor, being a mentor, special projects, job rotations, temporary reassignments. There are so many different ways that we can think about connecting people for the purposes of work, but also for the purposes of growth. Who's got something to learn and who's got something to teach, and how do we find a meaningful way for them to come together?